Some days it's just downright difficult to be a gamer. Developers tease us with glimpses of new games that are everything we've ever wanted to play. Then a few months later, nothing. No updates, no news, no release dates. Another year passes and still nothing. If they'd at least announced that their game was cancelled, we could finally get a good night's sleep and have a little bit of closure. But when we don't even know if a game is still in development, it's absolutely maddening. And if you're a PSVR gamer, this has happened to you at least once over the last 4 years. So let's check in with the top 5 PlayStation VR games that have gone missing in action. If you grew up on Sega Genesis games like I did, then at some point in your life, Road Rash was probably in heavy rotation at your house. And even though the vehicular combat genre evolved and brought us games like Twisted Metal, and let's be fair, Twisted Metal was the best one, we never really got the true update to Road Rash we deserved. So when developer IMGNATION Studios showed off early footage of MONOWHEELS VR, a futuristic Mad Max-inspired racing game infused with brutal melee combat, it felt like a dream come true. But that was back in 2016, and things got really quiet after that. Luckily, after a prolonged silence, we finally heard from a member of the team around this time last year, who said that the publisher they were working with canceled a number of projects, including MONOWHEELS. But the code was salvaged and they were already in talks with new partners. Since then, another year has passed with no new updates. But I will say that these developers are obviously tenacious and believe in their game, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see this one eventually.
Welcome to the St. Grace Islands.
It can't be easy to build an MMORPG for VR in the wake of MetaWorld, a game that promised a persistent online world with practically infinite possibilities, and then stole everyone's money and was never heard from again. But the developers of Elysium VR are looking to restore our faith in humanity by eschewing the fantasy vibe in favor of a tonally much more realistic game with cities, guns, and vehicles, with the option of deciding what kind of person you want to be in this big open GTA-style sandbox. The game was first shown off in trailer form roughly 3 years ago, and everyone got really excited. But the team's 2019 Kickstarter, which only managed to procure $6,500 of the $45,000 they were asking for, didn't bode well for development. So where does that leave Elysium VR in 2021? Well, luckily the small team has actually never stopped working on their game. Their Twitter feed is packed with weekly, if not daily updates, and their Discord reveals that they're slowly getting closer to releasing an alpha build on PC VR, with the PlayStation VR version still in the works for some time after that. So even though it's taking a really long time, things are looking very promising for this one. Horror games in VR are such a natural fit. Being inside of creepy worlds is much more impactful than watching them on a flat screen. But thus far, a good majority of the horror games we've gotten on PlayStation VR have been shorter experiences more than full-fledged games. Paranormal Activity, Don't Knock Twice, and even The Exorcist Legion VR have all had some really good scares, but all ended far too quickly. So when MINDTAKER was announced by developer RELEVO, it looked like it could deliver the next big horror adventure that PSVR gamers have been clamoring for. You play as a detective called to investigate a murder that happened back in your hometown, inside a creepy old house that had some really mysterious stories surrounding it during your childhood. This trailer debuted 3.5 years ago, and the game was partially funded by PlayStation. But now the only update we've been able to get is from RELEVO's website that states, "The project currently is suffering a long delay, although it is not a cancelled product." The fact is the project demands a volume of development on the technical side that's far higher than expected, and that forces us to search for external investment in order to finish the product. This was posted a while back, and it's the last we've heard from the developers about the game, so while I'd love to be optimistic about MINDTAKER, I wouldn't hold my breath. The original Windlands was a launch title for PSVR and gave us our first look at what not only full locomotion could be like in VR, but also running, jumping, and swinging from grappling hooks. But as fun as the movement was, the gameplay was designed around exploring these big open worlds that, after a while, started feeling pretty barren due to a lack of enemies or secondary objectives. That's where Windlands 2 comes in, sporting 4-player online co-op, bows and arrows to use in battle against epic titans, NPCs, and more reasons than ever to go out and explore. Developer PSYTEC Games took everything that was great about Windlands 1 and made it infinitely more fun in the sequel, which released on PC VR at the end of 2018. But the PlayStation VR version still hasn't materialized, leading most people to believe it's been quietly cancelled and swept under the rug. But we've talked to PSYTEC Games on numerous occasions, and they're adamant that Windlands 2 is still in development for PSVR, although they're not committing to a release window quite yet. Starchild might be the poster boy of missing in action PSVR games. The trailers looked great, and it was even playable on the second PlayStation VR demo disc, and showcased at the Sony booth during PAX East 2018. The game design was fairly simple as a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer with extremely basic puzzle solving. But the presentation, which showcased some beautiful music and fantastic art design, was what people most likely gravitated towards. The aesthetic similarities to Metroid made us wonder what the final game would be like. Would there be combat, upgrades, or simply more of what the brief demo showed us? Then suddenly, in December of 2018, all pre-orders for Starchild on the PlayStation Store were inexplicably cancelled, causing the CEO of Playful Studios, Paul Bettner, to react swiftly on Twitter by saying, "Playful is still hard at work on Starchild. Our internal projected launch date changed, triggering a cancellation of pre-orders on PSN. But rest assured, the game's development is alive and well. We can't wait to share more soon." In a conversation with Upload VR, Bettner also said, "How our players experience the story of Starchild is so important to us, which is why we're being so thoughtful about what we say and how we say it. We're not ready to share more yet, but we'll make it worthwhile when we do." This would be the last official word we heard from the developers regarding Starchild, ever. And in January 2020, news came that developer Playful Studios had laid off a number of employees as part of a massive studio restructuring, causing most of us to give up on any last shred of hope that we were holding on to. Well, there you have it. Some good news, some bad news. We've reached out to all these developers numerous times throughout the years, and once more when beginning work on this video. So if any of them get back to us with further updates on any of these 5 titles, we'll let you know.